was like the first time I really saw that I had a problem. I loved cocaine, man. I had like a gold cocaine tooting box, and like it was my thing, and it was kind of classy, and you knew what you were getting into if you were coming to hang out. And then I'm with a porn star in the Valley, and she goes, try this. And I smoked meth, and I never thought of cocaine ever again. And so I really was one of those guys that wanted the company as well as the sex and the drugs. It was kind of company, drugs, sex. I was just fucking lonely. And he pulls me over on the freeway and gets me out, and I'm naked, and I have a neon pink cock ring wrapped around my cock and balls, and it's just vibrating on the back of the fucking cop car. And it said on my intake sheet, it said, Inmate Webber arrived with nothing but a neon pink cock ring. Yeah.
Today's guest, oh my God, I love him, has one of the craziest resumes and life stories you'll ever hear. Seb Webber helped launch Adele, MIA, worked side by side with Jay-Z at Tidal, and built massive campaigns with artists like Coldplay and The Weeknd. But beyond the career flexes, Seb's a sober brother who's been through ups and downs. I mean, how about this? Forbes 30, under 31 year, and crashing on couches the next year, right? We get into the music industry madness, his road to recovery, a few stories that'll blow your mind. Let's get into it with the one and only Seb Webber.
Thank you for having me, dude. Thank you.
Yeah. Whoa. How about this, huh?
I know, this is crazy. This is crazy.
Why is it crazy?
Because I never thought I'd be sitting here.
Yeah.
Ever.
Right. Why, though?
Because it just took it. I was a real hopeless case for a long time. And I knew this place was a safe space. So I would come here, right? I would come here because I knew it was a safe space. But I've been on this couch many times, but for completely other reasons. But I just thank you for having me on your show. I mean, I've seen you from episode 1. And I was so happy when you started doing this, because this to me has always been the natural evolution for you. Mm-hmm. It always was. I would have called this 8 years ago. You know what I mean? This is what you have to do.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, but you're touching so many people doing this.
I appreciate that. Well, we're going to touch a lot more today.
Yeah.
You know why this is so special for me? A lot of reasons. Because there's many times when I've talked to Bobby, the guys, I hope Seb's alive today.
I want to start crying already, dude. Yeah.
Have you heard from Seb today?
Yeah.
Has anybody got a beat? No, we don't know where the fuck he's at.
No.
Okay, let's go back. England, a little backstory. Where are you from?
From England. I grew up in a little town outside of London, a little village called Hinksworth. It had 500 people in it. And it was between, we spent time in London and time on our asparagus farm. We lived on an asparagus farm. My mom had me when she was super young. She was 17. My dad was 21. Well, I don't know my biological father, but I had a dad.
Right.
You know, so I don't have that, like, you know, there's things there's things I feel around it, but like I grew up in a happy family. We didn't have much because they were so young, right? Just because they were young. And as I got older, we got more. But yeah, I grew up, I loved music. I was,
would you say you're a mischievous child?
Oh,
from the gate. I think
from the gate. All right, yeah.
A little snarl on your
from
face.
The gate. So,
yeah.
Fun fact: I'm the youngest person ever to be banned from Goldman Sachs. So my dad worked at Goldman Sachs. He worked in IT, and we would go in on the weekends. Dude, I had such great happy memories of running through the trading floor as a kid. And I would make my first entrepreneur. We'll get to why I was banned in a second. But my first entrepreneurial endeavor was I used to sell pen holders that I made out of toilet paper rolls to the traders, and everyone on their desk had them. I sold them for 50p, and it was, you'd go into Goldman Sachs, and you'd see these things on the desk, and it was really cool. My dad really.
How old were you then?
I was 8 or 9, but I was banned when I was 9. So when I was 9. My dad took me, I didn't know this at the time, but it was a server room, right? So you have these big trading floors. My dad designs trading floors. And so you'd go in these big server rooms, and my dad said to me, he goes, listen, whatever you do not press that red button. And this red button wasn't like a accidental press. This was behind a plastic case, and it was a twist and pull. Right. And I did that. And the alarms went off and the shock on my dad's face. And I was maybe 9, 10, and he threw me in a cab by myself. This is how angry he was, right? And sent me home. And what I had done is I'd actually turned off the trading floor. And it was and it was a Saturday. Had that have happened during the week, a lot of people would have lost a lot of money. And so my parents, I think my mum still has the letter. They got sent a formal letter saying that I wasn't allowed to come back except for the Christmas party. They would do a big Christmas party. And then every year I would go back, whoever the CEO was would say, oh, and we have Mr. Webber's son here who would have made us go bankrupt if this had happened on a weekday. And that really laid out the path for
the first of many.
Right. Yeah, first of many. And I was just curious. I wanted to know how things worked. I wanted to know. I was mischievous. I wasn't like a bad kid though. You know what I mean? Like I was scared of my mom, but like left to myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Left to myself, I would think about things and maybe do questionable things, but I would present well in school, right? So I wasn't like a bad kid at school, but I was definitely.
Seb, where did you get your extraordinary design aesthetic, your sense of artistry? I mean, it's really keen, man. Where did that come from? How did that happen?
I mean, I owed a lot. So I wasn't a smart kid, and I wasn't like a football kid in school or any of that stuff. I was an art kid, and I always wanted to be in a gang, and the only gang I was ever in was called the Lunchbox Crew. It was for the boys that mums made their lunches for them. But I had a really beautiful art teacher called Miss Stokes. She looked like Lara Croft, the Tomb Raider.
Oh my.
Yeah, and so, but she was the first teacher that ever kind of paid attention to me and like would, let me go and color at lunchtime. And I've not thought of her for a very long time. And I just loved art books. I would look at colors forever and think about what these colors mean and where to apply them. And then I was like, I would love to go to IKEA as a kid. I would think I was the only like 13-year-old that would get so buzzed at like decorating his room, and I would go through the catalog for months and I'd pick out and I'd do any odd jobs I could around the farm. I'd go paint a fence just so I could get like this piece of furniture I wanted, And I just cared about that stuff. I just cared about things looking good.
Yeah, beautiful. And we're gonna get more of that. Walk me through this. When was it? What was the first band you heard that like, oh, I want to be a part of this?
Well, this is crazy because I was thinking about this the other day, and it has something to do with Brother Victor, who's a mutual friend of ours. I remember distinctly sitting in my bedroom at about 14, 15 years old and listening to Science by Incubus on a CD, flicking through the case. And I remember making a definitive decision there that I don't know what this is, but I want to work in this. Not knowing how the music industry worked or anything like that. And which is crazy because our mutual friend signed that band.
Yeah.
And I really remember.
Shout out to Brother Victor.
Yeah. I mean, and Evanescence and like just about a Drowning Pool and these bands that just I listened to as an angsty teenager. But I just remember being like, and this was in this small village. And like, I think of it now that now I live in LA. And you know what I mean? And now I know the person that put these records out. But I just distinctly listened to Incubus and a lot of that kind of MTV2 era of alternative rock. And I love going to bands. Like I love going out.
Wow. So let's go a little fast forward. I mean, how does a kid from the UK end up discovering Adele and MIA and landing in the heart of the US music scene? How in the fuck did that happen?
Yeah. Well, so I was just part of the team. I was the junior. I was like 20. So I got an intern. Well, okay, let me back up. So I didn't want to go to college, but my mum made me go to college. I was the first kid in my family that was going to go to college. And so I picked the most Mickey Mouse subject I could find, which was called commercial music, which was about the music business. And what happened was, within my first week of my first year at college, I got offered this internship at a small label called XL Recordings. And that internship quickly turned into a job. And so I actually didn't do my second and third year of college. I paid this girl called Hazel to pretend to be me. I had the foresight to pick a course that had no exams. So I'd go and do my third year thesis, because in England you go to school for 3 years, not 4. I'd be doing and they'd be like, who are you? We don't know who you are, because I paid this chick to do all my work for me. But I knew that that was a huge value. I knew that going to pack records in a record label or sending out mail, I mean, I was in the mailroom. I knew that that was worth 10 years of schooling.
Wow.
Right? And it was a small little independent record label. And my first job was for Jack White and the White Stripes. And Ian Montone, their manager, who's a good friend of mine in LA, he kind of like bullied them into giving me a job. I think they weren't happy with whoever their person was at the time. And I ended up being like Jack White's guy at like 20.
Wow.
And then I was fortunate enough to be at the label and was on, first on the Adele team, MIA, Radiohead when they left EMI. And at 23, I have this roster of Adele, MIA, the White Stripes, Jack White, the Prodigy, Basement Jaxx, and I kind of worked with Vampire. Like, it was insane. And I was just like the taste guy. I was just like the guy. We would license. So the way it worked in America is this label signed these artists for the world, and then we would license these records to other labels, like bigger labels in America. But so much was going on here. They needed somebody here on the ground. And so at 23, 24, I was plonked out here by myself, no friends. The only person I knew was my attorney, who now runs Capital, Michelle Jubileer. And I knew no one. And I got a little apartment and it was on. I had, I hadn't.
Were you excited to be here or were you nervous?
No, I was excited. I was dead excited. And my ego was out of control. Like
Already.
Yeah, I mean, the first Grammys I went to, like, we walked away with 15. That like doesn't happen.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And look, I mean, they would have been successful with or without me, right? I'm never going to take credit for that. But it was such a blessing, but it was also a complete warp. I mean, I had the career at 24 that people in the industry, they want to have a roster like that when they're 50. And so I would be going in these meetings and like Jimmy Iovine would be in the meeting and he'd be like looking at me, be like, who's this kid? And I'd be like, I'm the kid that like bought this artist to your label, And so
were you confident?
Yeah, I've always been an emotional wreck disguised as a confident person,
Yeah.
I think
you play it well.
I play it well.
Yeah.
And it's the music business. It's all layered on bullshit anyway.
Yeah.
It's kind of it was the perfect role for me.
Perfect.
Right.
Wait, can we just go back one time? Because you told me, just remind me, can you tell me about when you heard Adele the first time in the club?
Oh, yeah. So this was...
Because that's an important lesson, I think, for folks.
Yeah. I mean, so we had got her demo. It came through a kid called Tick. Shout out to Tick. And it was on MySpace and we were listening to it. And she had one song. She had a song called Hometown Glory that was on her first album, but she had played it on the guitar and it was on MySpace. And we listened to it and we were like, yeah, we need to go check this girl out, right? And so we go to this, it's like a Tuesday at like 6 p.m. in like in a bar in East London. So it's city boys, it's traders, and it's upstairs in this little room. And we get there. I get there at like 5:30 or something. And we get with the other people from the label, and it's loud, man. It's loud. It's obnoxious. Everyone's shouting on their Blackberries. And in walks this. She couldn't have even been allowed legally in the bar at the time. She must have been 16, maybe 17. She walks in. She's dumpy, and when you like feel you're about to witness a car crash, and I was like, ooh, this is going to go down real bad. And we were all looking at each other like, this is not going to be good. And she sat on the stool And she opened her mouth, and I've never seen a room get so quiet. You have these obnoxious city boys, they all put their phones in their pockets, and they turn around and they watch this girl sing her heart out. And I think the deal was done 2 days later.
Wow.
And for like a modest amount.
Right.
You know, it wasn't like, she was on everyone's radar, but it wasn't like, there wasn't like a war for her, like a traditional label bidding war. Like it was like, you know, XL decided to give her a shot, and it really paid out. But it was amazing. It was amazing to look around and just see these people shut up.
Right. Real fast.
Real fast.
Real fast.
Real fast.
All right. That's beautiful, man. That's the movie. That's a movie moment, right?
Yeah.
23 in LA. Are you partying yet?
Kinda.
Not much though, right?
Not much though. My real partying started maybe 3 years later, but I was still doing coke probably every opportunity I could get. But
So-
socially.
Yeah. And what's your life like now? What are you doing? What do you got going on?
Right now.
No, not now.
Oh,
No. Back then, you're 23. You did the Grammys. You're doing well.
Doing
you're
well.
taking meetings.
And I'm managing a bunch of DJs right before the DJ boom as well.
That's right.
Right. So I had this kind of huge roster, and dubstep happened. Right. And my guy, Rusko, it happened overnight. I started seeing it in America, and I remember a couple of other cats and promoters, they were starting to book this thing. And this kid, Rusko, went from making $500 a night DJing, and it literally happened, and his offers were like $75,000 a night.
Wow.
And we went from making pocket money, and I have my other job as well at the same time. We were making pocket money to, oh shit, this is real. And then we toured all across America, and you know, these rooms were like 6,000 capacity people, 7,000 capacity people. You know, really like, and I'm still a young kid, and we have no fucking idea what we're doing. We're like making records, and he was like producing, and I got him to produce for Britney Spears, and like it was mad. Like the gates opened, and it was a really interesting time in the music business though, because the music business had just kind of fallen to shit maybe like 6 years before, so nobody had any good ideas. Everyone was equal, and I think that's why I did so good. It's because I would go in these rooms with these big executives, and they had no fucking better ideas than me. You know what I mean? And so the music industry was leveled. So everyone was just fighting. And I had a ticketing company, and that did really well. And, you know, in the music business, you're always wearing like 12 different hats. And I just rode the wave. And trust me, I rode the coattails too. You know, I made it work for me to my detriment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, it was an amazing... It was an amazing experience. It was the Adele thing also, to be clear, that was a phenomenon. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's a rarity, right?
It's a rarity.
But it's cool to be a part of.
It was, yeah.
You saw her from the gate.
And it couldn't have happened to a more authentic, nicer person. You know what I mean? It's always nice when that happens to like somebody who really deserves it. Like she came from fucking nothing. I got a great Adele story. Can I tell this great Adele
of course.
Story? So she we were making her record, and so the way it works is records and there's publishing, right? So the record deal was a modest record deal. It was enough to make the record. Nobody got rich on it. Like it hadn't come out yet. It was still, you know, to see we'll make a record. And then she got her publishing deal, and the publishing deal I think was for like, and this is all pretty well documented. The publishing deal was like for £1 million. And there was like this emergency meeting at the label being like, hey, this 18-year-old is about to get who comes from nothing, is about to get £1 million. What are we going to do? And I remember the head of the label, who is the most amazing person, one of the most amazing people I've ever worked with. He was like, just trust her. She'll make the right decision. And people were freaking out about it. And they kind of had the reason to, because we hadn't put out the record yet. So we didn't know it was going to work. And you know what she did? She bought the fucking house next to the record label. So
at 18?
At 18. So she could come in and make tea, and like she would come hang out at the record label. Like that sums up.
She had a vision. She was locked in.
She's amazing, right? At that young.
That's
and you
fucking
come
cool.
from nothing and you get this big check, and and she buys the house next door.
Right.
What a fucking move.
Right.
And that really sums up to why she's so successful. She's just so authentic.
Right. What was it like working with Coldplay? What makes him so fucking good?
I mean, Chris is just one of the greatest songwriters in the world.
Yeah, he is, isn't he?
And he doesn't care about being cool. You know, he's past that. He just wants to make hits. And I think every artist gets to a point in their career where they're like, you can go down two roads, right? Let's say you have a bit of success and you can go down road one, and that's like, I can start doing what I want to do now. All right. Or you can start playing into the audience you've built and go, okay, I'm going to do this for them now. I'm going to make belters. I'm going to make real, like, just songs that resonate forever. And a lot of artists try to do this side and it doesn't work. And if you think about music as a whole, very few bands can go left and get bigger. There's probably only one band in existence that's done, well, two bands. Radiohead and, you could argue, U2, kind of. You know what I mean? Very few bands can do this. And so when you lean into this side of like, all right, we're just going to make smashes now, the consistency of how good they have to be is an immense amount of work. And also, you also have to also put your, I think it's, you also got to put your ego aside, because you're a band, you have this thing now that people want. And a lot of artists go, well, I don't really care about that. I want to do what I want. And I actually think that when you're an artist like that, you have a responsibility. And I just think Coldplay are the best at doing it. They're so good at making those just, and I'm sure they want to make their weird left field album in the desert, you know, and like, and I'm sure you want to, you know,
Yeah.
and cool, right? But like, when you've sold like 10 million records, you've got to start thinking how you're going to sell the other 10. And I just think they just know who they are really good. And I had a lot of creative freeway, and shout out to Dave, who was their manager and probably one of my best friends. And he always believed in me. You know, when I went to my first rehab, he had a job waiting for me afterwards, you know, with them. And, you know, my job for them was really simple. It was to try and keep them, I would work with their labels to try and just make sure everything was like creatively on board and the marketing wasn't too cheesy. And a lot of the job was just having my eyes on stuff, you know, and just reporting back to management, you know. But some of those guys and that team were some of the best people I've worked with.
What did you learn from Jay-Z?
Oof. Now that was a job. That was one. He's,
And let the folks know what you're doing there.
yeah. So I have to tell the Jay-Z story. So I'm sitting at my desk in Hollywood, and I work for a company at Red Light at this point, and I'm a I don't know what I am. What am I? Senior manager, talent? I don't know. I'm some sort of talent manager. And I get this call from a blocked number, and it keeps ringing. I hang up on it. Keeps ringing. Hang up on it. And eventually I pick up, and he goes, "Hey, this is Jay." And I'm like, "No, it's not." Like, I'm like, this guy's going to be Jay-Z, and I fucking hang up on it. That's my first thing.
We never pick
fucking
up a blocked number. It could be a lot of interesting people.
Especially for me, it's like definitely it could be Jay-Z, or it could be a hooker asking why I haven't paid it yet. You know, it's you know, and he tells me, "Hey, I'm starting this thing called Tidal," and so I have to go. You know, when Jay-Z calls, you pick up, or you don't pick up, but you pick up. And so again, Tidal was originally a streaming company out of Norway, and he bought it, and he wanted me to change the programming to make the programming more for our new audience we were going to get with all the artists that we signed. So it was very kind of a snooty, a lot of written content. It was more like a Pitchfork than it was a Spotify, and my job was to make it more like a Spotify. And he gave me like total free reign, you know. I'd just go meet with him, and I'd come up with these ideas, and he'd be like, "Yeah, I like that." And we made a bunch of content, and we licensed a bunch of cool stuff, and you know, it's crazy. He'd be like, he'd do shit like, "I got this idea for a commercial with Kevin Hart and Aziz Ansari," and then like he'd pass you his phone, and like Kevin Hart would be on the other end of the phone. you know, and it was amazing. Again, and he also paid me while I was still in rehab, and actually sent me the nicest email after I got out of rehab for my first time.
wow.
I think it was like I've thought about this a lot. I think it was because he obviously used to be a drug. And weirdly, he understood me checking into rehab my first time, or, the rumors going around that Seb's not showing up, and I'd been arrested with an escort, and like the one person I was really worried about finding out was like, he was like, yo, take as much time as you need. And gave me like the biggest hug when I saw him again in New York. Like he really got it.
Mm-hmm.
Like to the point of where I'm like, is he in recovery, or is he like, does he know something? Those people that know.
Yeah.
He knows.
Yeah, he knows.
Right. And I just felt supported by him. And I actually just stopped working for him because I just wasn't, it was the only job I haven't been fired from, I think, that I quit. Because my head wasn't in the game. And I think that was the first time I seriously tried to get sober, was my head was just screwed up. And I had to, went and did some Coldplay stuff, and then he asked me to do this commercial for the Beatles. And I remember like we were on a call with Scott Roger, who manages Paul McCartney, and Paul McCartney was on the call, and I just flunked, dude. And I was sober, and I flunked. I just didn't have it.
What happened? You just beat up, fucked up?
Yeah.
Just lost your, is this where you started losing your confidence a little bit?
Yeah, for sure.
So what year are we at now?
2015, 2016.
So how old were you then?
I'm like 31.
So you've been in LA almost over 10 years. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I've got a kid on the way.
Right. So now it's getting a little murky.
Now there's
It's affecting your work.
Yeah. And I'm not hiding it so good, your boss never wants to receive a call that, hey, Seb's been arrested. Do you have a good attorney recommendation?
Right.
You know what I mean? Or like my assistant at the time found out I was in jail. Just, I think after being missing for 3 days, she put 2 and 2 together, just this.
And what was the drug of choice back then?
Then I'd switched to meth at that point. At that point, meth was on. I tell this story a lot because it really shows, for me, it was like the first time I really saw that I had a problem. I love cocaine, man. I had like a gold cocaine tooting box, and like it was my thing, and it was kind of classy, and you knew what you were getting into if you were coming to hang out. And then I'm with a porn star in the Valley, and she goes, try this. And I smoked meth, and I never thought of cocaine ever again.
Yeah, it was on. Yeah.
It was like,
oh, fuck.
Oh,
fuck. Yeah.
Like I've been in the kiddies pool for like,
right.
And at that point I was just started smoking meth, and it wasn't a full-time thing for me. I would kind of keep it together. I remember being like, I'm not going to smoke meth in LA. I'm just going to do it when I'm out of LA. And I remember looking at my calendar the next day, and I'm like out of town for the next 3 weeks. I'm like, there's the craziness.
The stories we tell
managing.
ourselves.
You're right.
And like me, you like your drugs and our girls.
And our girls, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and our trans friends, yes.
And our trans friends,
as we like to say, the combo platter. Things get interesting on that.
Yeah, I put a lot of trans girls through medical school or whatever, I've
yeah.
And it started out, high-end escorts and, porn stars, and it very quickly became Figueroa, and I just wanted it to get darker. Like I invited the darkness.
Yeah. What's that about, buddy? Because I kind of met you when it was the $79 a day hotel room kind of places.
I don't.
What's the attraction about fucking cruising Fig, picking up fucking hookers, one of the most dangerous streets in Los Angeles? Which I know. I've cruised that street. I've been on that street. I picked up hookers on that street.
Yeah. I had someone tell me this once, and I think it made sense, that, and I'm talking about trans escorts in particular, because I don't identify as gay. I don't care what you are. If I'm loaded, everything's game on, right? But somebody once told me that you're attracted to them because there's no one more uncomfortable than somebody that thinks they're in the wrong body. Right? And I just remember relating to that. Like, I felt so little of myself and I felt so sick and stuck that I needed to be around somebody that maybe felt the same as me. And for me, I found that in those people. And unfortunately, a lot of those escorts, I'm not generalizing, but a lot of those escorts smoke meth in my experience. And so I really was one of those guys that wanted the company as well as the sex and the drugs. It was kind of company, drugs, sex. I was just fucking lonely.
Yeah, right on.
You know what I mean? I just wanted someone to see me. And there's also like, I think about this a lot. There's also like an innocence and like the most honest I've ever been in my life before getting sober is when I'm butt naked with an escort smoking meth. And I'm like, I see you and you see me. And we're doing drugs together. We see each other in our most intimate, we're naked, we don't have clothes, like, and we're smoke. It's like we both see each other's devils and we're fine with hanging out.
Yeah.
And I needed that.
Yeah, big time.
And, really.
No, I get it, brother. I get it. But so when was the famous Las Vegas arrest?
2019.
Oh, fuck, that was 2019?
Yeah.
Would you be so kind to walk her out?
Yeah, for sure. So I was going to Vegas a lot. I was working, I'd created a show for Apple Music and it's like whatever show. It was whatever. And I had to go to Vegas a couple times to shoot artists. And I think I'd just done that Korean band BTS the week before. I have an ex in Vegas that happens to be a professional escort. And I'm with my kid's mom at her house. And I make up that I'm going, like, I look and see who's in Vegas. And I'm like, oh, babe, I got to fly to Vegas tonight to shoot Shawn Mendes. Like, total lie, dude. And I get on this fucking flight out straight away. Like, I booked this all in like 40 minutes, right? Just wanted to go use. And I was texting the girl and whatever, and I get there. And I go to her house, and this is a girl I know really well. And I'd been sober maybe a month, maybe 30 days. I was in the shuffle, right? And she goes, open your mouth. And I'm like, all right. And she goes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then she says the words that nobody wants to hear after they think they've just taken acid, which is, oh no. Oh no, oh no. And I'm like, what the fuck do you mean, oh no? And she goes, I just took it from the concentrated bottle.
Oh, fuck.
And so I said, I'm not doing this myself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so we both took 50 hits of acid.
Oh, my man. Oh, fuck. I'm high just thinking about that.
So I met God.
Yeah, I bet you did.
Right. And then it got bad. And so, I don't know, we're arguing. Right. So I'm rolling around in her front lawn at 7 a.m. naked, right? Sprinkler systems on, and we're having this fight. Some neighbor calls. So this cop comes, picks me up, right? And I remember she was like, and I was coming out of it at this point. It must have been high for like 8 hours or whatever. I'm kind of not coming out of it, but like it took me like 2 weeks to come out of it. But I was kind of getting some clarity, right? So I kind of remember this pretty vividly. And she's begging the cops not to take me. And they're like, well, you can't get him inside. We got to take him. And she's screaming with this cops. And anyway, this cop was like 22, like straight out of fucking cop school. He's like never met a motherfucker like me, right? And so we start driving to Clark County, and he goes, what the fuck is that? And he pulls me over on the freeway and gets me out, and I'm naked, and I have a neon pink cock ring wrapped around my cock and balls, and it's just vibrating on the back of the fucking cop car. And it said on my intake sheet, it said, inmate Webber arrived with nothing but a neon pink cock ring. Or sex toy. And I got hospital scrubs, and
oh, fuck, man.
so they all got it all, eventually it got around that I wasn't on a trip. And I think my kid's mum reached out to my boss. He was like, he's not on a trip. And again, I found myself in jail, coming down, and my relationship with my kid's mum was definitely over at that point. And you know, I really, really hurt her. And no one fucked with me. I think my bail was like $300. You know, it was like I was arrested for, you know what I mean? And I'm in Clark County and I'm a white British Jew. Like there's not many gangs for me to join. Right? And I'm kind of coming down and I was in there for maybe 8-9 days or whatever. And yeah. And eventually it was Dave from Coldplay's manager or old manager who was like, fuck it, I'm going to go get him. And he came out and got me. And I was picked up in hospital scrubs and still wasn't enough, you know. I went to my friend's detox because I'd been kicked out of my kid's mum's house, rightly so. And kind of from there on, it's just been a fucking blur. I didn't get it.
Right.
You know? That wasn't enough. Not even near enough.
Right. Yeah, not even close.
Not even close. I had to keep falling.
That's probably a good place to talk about the progression of your illness, losing your daughter, losing the relationship, getting sober, trying to build it back, losing it again. Maybe walk through that relationship. And then, of course, you know, where you guys are at now is, you know.
Yeah, I mean, so I was very close to losing her. And thankfully, my kid's mum would still let me see her, you know, but I definitely got served papers, rightly so. We worked out a custody. My kid's mum has been, like, she's put up with so much, right? And she has given me chance and chance and chance again. And, like, it's so incestuous, like, how we hurt the people we genuinely love the most. Like, I love this woman. I will always love this woman. And I love my daughter. Like, you know me. Like, I love my daughter more than anything. And I love her more than anything. Not in a romantic way, but, like, there's not, you know, if either one of them was behind a wall, there's no wall I couldn't get through if I had to get to them. You know what I mean? But that's the thing that's so fucked up about this shit. You keep hurting the people you care about. You know? Kind of consciously. That's the fucked up bit of this. And I was in this spiral. And for me, I just didn't have, I had to be a real low bottom. Like, I had to have nothing to get it. But those years were the worst years of my life. You know, it'd be get an apartment, lose the apartment, have some money, then not have any money. I remember, like, especially during the pandemic when we all had to work from home, like, that fucked me up, man. Like, I was around nobody other than if I saw my daughter. And I wouldn't get high around my daughter, but, like, I was desperate to pawn her off to her mum, like, when it was too much, and go get high. I mean, I was the type of piece of shit that would be texting the hooker to come over while waiting for my kid to be picked up.
Yeah, it's real.
Like, for real.
Right.
It kills me to this day thinking about that shit. And, like, I was there, but I wasn't there. You know? I was there, but I wasn't there. You know? Dude, I harbor so much guilt about that still.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about that. Also, I know, buddy, because, you know, you were so deep in your addiction, you would have some of these pros come over with no money.
Yeah. Oh, regularly.
And
I'd have a way of
a couple times it got a little violent. People wanted their money and brought some people, interesting folks. You want to share any of those stories?
Yeah, I mean, I've been robbed at gunpoint. And then this other girl I ripped off, and, like, the Aryan brothers came to my apartment building and set fire to the lobby. Dude, I remember just being, like, with the sex and the meth. I remember I'd get a check for something. I'd go do some sort of whatever creative work for something I didn't care about. And I'd maybe get, like, a couple of days work, and I'd get, like, a $3,000 check or whatever. And I'd be like, oh God, I cannot spend this on hookers. I cannot call this person. I cannot, like, I would not. And I just remember it would hit, and I'd call them, and I'd be like not wanting to do this. And yet I was so desperate to do it. Like dying inside if I didn't get high and hang out with a hooker. And I put myself in a ton of dangerous situations, and I fucking hurt a lot of people. And I've actually really got to figure out how I figure out those amends, because I owe a lot of money to people I don't really ever want to meet again. Even yesterday, my kid's mum was hit up by an old escort who I owe money to asking how I was. Like, I'm still dealing with this. And luckily my kid's mum I think she sees enough change in me now, where she calls me, she goes, hey, this happened. And, we talked, she's not going to reply, and she likes to laugh at me about it. But like, dude, talk about demoralizing. You know what I mean? Like, these people are trying to find out who my family are because I owe them money because I wanted a blowjob or a hand job. And like, the fuck?
Right. Yeah.
Like, putting my family or the people I care about in kind of danger.
Yeah, because, because when we're in it, we just don't give a fuck.
The greatest thing she said in that message, though, which I thought about this morning, is she said, I've not heard from him in a long time.
That's great.
Which I'm like, dude, I couldn't go a paycheck without seeing a pro.
Well, that's the progression. If I got this right, buddy, I think, let's just call it the last 3 years, 4 years of life, barely holding on to work, getting a job,
losing it,
sober living, detox,
sober living, detox,
extorted, craziness, on the run, right?
Lost everything I own.
Right.
Everything. Literally everything. Like all the awards and shit that said I was a someone, I got none of that shit anymore.
Right.
Nothing.
And you're just stuck with you.
Kind of the best thing that ever happened to me, though. Even though I still feel like, I'm like, oh, my book collection. I don't know if you remember, I had the most insane art book collection.
Yeah, no.
All gone.
Huh?
All gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a consequence of my actions.
Let's go to what I hope was your final sick and tired moment. Because let's get into your recovery and what you've done, which is fucking amazing. And you've done a couple interesting things I want to point out to the audience that I think are relevant to a guy who's a chronic relapser.
Yeah.
So let's talk to probably, I guess, Bobby getting you.
Yeah, Bobby. So Bobby got me into Cry Help, went for 3 months, and like, I do rehab really well. Like, I can say the right things, get out, I get high again. And then I do the West Side Sober Living Shuffle, and I go from like Robbie's place to John O'Brien's place to fucking Mike's place, Theron's place. All these guys give me a chance. They're like, hey, we're going to scholarship you, get back on your feet. Boom. 3 weeks later, I'm like using fake pee or whatever.
Yeah, some bullshit,
right? Or I'm like taking other people's pee out of the toilet and holding it on me in case I get spot checked. Like just horrible, right?
Real grift and junk shit.
Yeah, dude. And Mike and Theron, they kicked me out of their place, rightly so. And I detoxed in the dumpster behind their place, and I sleeping outside for a few days, and I wake up on the canals, right? And I hit 6 a.m, and I hit my vape, and I got a shit, dude. I got a shit like now.
Right.
And there ain't nothing open at 6 a.m.
Right.
And so I go under a bridge and I shit in the canal, and it dawns on me like I'm on the same kind of canal where my kid's mum's family have a house, which we lived in for a little bit. And I remember how happy I was at that time. You know, how I wasn't so deep at that time. And now, 5 years later, I'm shitting in the canal.
Homeless.
Nowhere
to go, broke.
Nobody's taking my calls.
Right.
You know. And I just go like, and I planned to walk into the ocean and never walk out. That was my plan. I'm just going to go out there, let the rip current take me, and just be done with it. I'm fucking done. And then I got an email saying, hey, we'd like you to come to Beit T'Shuvah, and shout out to Damien and shout out to Donald Passman, who like got me in there real quick.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Donald Passman.
Oh, wow.
You know, heard through
the Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So Donald Passman's like the biggest music industry attorney.
Yeah.
By the way, I've like know him via emails, but I was so bad, he found out from someone else how bad of a state I was in, and he's on the board at Beit T'Shuvah, and he just was like, I don't know when this guy is going to come, I don't know if this guy is going to call, but if he does call, you need to get him in right now. And they like got hold of me via Damien, our brother who's out there right now, and I got a message to me, and they were like, come on in. And then I still took me a day. Still took me a fucking day of wandering around Venice.
Yeah, maybe, I'm not sure, right?
Just like...
So insidious, man.
So insidious. And I think my phone died at that point. So I had to go to the sober living that I was kicked out from, and I knock on the door and I ask the sober living manager to drive me to rehab. And I've got nothing. No, nothing. No, I didn't have a driving license. Like, you know what I mean? I couldn't. And here's the God in this, because I think about this a lot. If I'm being honest with you, when I was going to treatment again this last time, I didn't feel any worse than I felt before, right? I didn't feel any more shame than I felt before. Trust me, I felt depressed and I had shame and guilt and everything. But I didn't feel any lower. I was like, oh, here we go again. And so I have to think that, and I have to go, I have to believe in a God. Because I haven't really had the compulsion. I've had moments of being triggered, but I haven't had that life or death. I've got to use or see a pro since I walked through those doors. So I have to believe that a higher power is looking out for me. There was no like resolution. It's going to be different this time. And for me, I made this conscious decision. I think I talked to you about it, but like, and it actually, I did talk to you about it, and it came from stuff that you talked to me about, which was like, I'm not this time round, after getting a couple of good meals in where I was at and like started going to meetings again, and maybe I got like 30 days, I decided to like not tell people how good I was doing. I decided that like it was going to be action based.
Yeah, good.
Because I've been fooling everyone for, not even fooling them, but I've been spewing bullshit for so long that it was only going to come from my actions. And I remember making the conscious decision, I'm not going to tell you what step I'm on. I'm not going to tell you about all the great things I'm doing or how I'm breaking through in rehab. I'm just going to sit down, shut up, do the work. I'm not going to make any decisions myself. I mean, I was so broken when I went in there, even deciding what shoes to wear, I had to run by someone else. I had no ideas. And that's also why I love my sponsor. I have a really great sponsor called Chris, who I kind of hate. There's nowhere in the book they say you have to like your sponsor, because he assumes still now that the first thing I tell him is a lie. You know, he tells me all the things. It's like the Seano sniper shot, you know, telling people what they need to hear from fucking 3 miles away. You know, it doesn't matter how fucking uncomfortable it is. And I have to believe that God decided that my struggling was over, because I didn't have a white light experience.
Yeah, I know.
I just slowly started figuring out who the fuck I've been using for so long. I had no idea who I am. Like none. I had no idea if I liked art or if I even liked music. I mean, for really the first 6 months, I couldn't even listen to music. It was too painful. And God forbid I'd be somewhere and a fucking song of something I've worked on came on. It would destroy me. I'd start crying. Because I was like thinking about what I could have been. And that, you know, I just had to sit down, shut up, and do what I was told. And that's fucking uncomfortable for the kid that pulled the fire alarm at Goldman Sachs.
Right. Yeah, big time. Yeah, straight up, brother. Tell folks what Beit T'Shuvah is all about and the history
God.
there.
My
It's
God.
an extraordinary community.
Whew, fuck. Dude, that place, like, you know, I've done the footwork, so I don't want to be like, Beit T'Shuvah saved my life, but it's a place where I learned to actually like myself again, you know? It is a long-term treatment center in Culver City, and it was set up 30 years ago by this woman called Harriet and this gentleman called Rabbi Mark. Harriet used to get Jewish people out of jails, and Rabbi Mark was a con man. And it's a place that offers all the traditional things that maybe a rehab offers. But it's an individual program, and they really meet you where you're at. But the love there, oh, dude, when you come in and you hate yourself as much as I did, there's just really clever things they do there, where there's rules. Obviously, everywhere has rules, but they do your team there is really great. I had a counselor and I had a therapist, normal rehab things, and then I had a spiritual advisor. And I got the most out of my spiritual advisor. Because I didn't have a relationship with God. I didn't know how to do that.
What did that person teach you?
Well, so I'm Jewish, but I never embraced my Jewish side as a kid. You know, my great grandparents, all I ever heard about was like the Holocaust and Nazis. Like, it wasn't like a buzzword. It was like, I'm like, why the fuck are we Jewish? And I got to get in touch with that side of me, and I got to start creating a dialogue with something that clearly was, 20 days became 30 days, became 40 days, became 50 days. And I didn't want to jump out my skin as frequently. And so I knew something was working. And my spiritual advisor taught me how to have a relationship with God. And there's a couple of other things they do really well, which is kind of daft, but I talk about this. I still go there every day. I spend a little time with the new guys. It's honestly the most important thing of my life outside my daughter. And so that you have these, I've talked about this before, but you have these house chores. Like, everyone gets a chore, and like, it's 100 people doing chores, right? And there's an hour of the day dedicated to the chores. And it hit me about 2 months in that this has nothing to do with cleaning the place. They have enough money to go get the place clean. It's because when I'm wiping down the coffee bar and someone goes, hey man, you did a great job on that. Or I'm cleaning out the UA bathrooms and one of the staff goes, hey, the bathrooms look great. When your self-esteem is so fucked up as much as mine, just that positive, I haven't heard a positive comment in 6 months, and just somebody telling me that would carry me to the next week and carry me to the next week. And that place is the most special place I've ever been to. Like, yeah.
Well, you did something that is really important, that I think why you're here now, because your history has been sober living treatment, 90 days. I got it. I'm good. You go out on your own.
Yeah.
You made the decision to stay there for a year, right?
Yeah.
Which is right.
And
talk about why that's important. Talk about chronic relapsers. Why for you that was kind of, in so many ways, the magic glue, that you needed more insurance. You needed to do something you've never done before.
I think when you've been doing it your way for so long, as much as I had, for me, a month wasn't going to do it. Like, I didn't even start to know what I was feeling until maybe month 6 or 7. I needed like a full fucking reset from the ground up. And I also went in, because not everyone's guaranteed a year, right? Or, however long the program is. It's really individual based. And I just said, I'm going to do everything they fucking tell me to do. Like, I genuinely I broke one rule once, but like, I didn't break any rules. You don't have to necessarily contribute a lot, but you do have to show up when you're told. And for me, that was the first action of getting better, was making sure I was up at 6, making sure I was eating at 7, having just the little discipline of saying I'm going to be somewhere when I fucking say I'm going to be there.
Getting a routine down.
Getting a routine.
Structure.
And I went to these groups, and I would show up at lunch to help clean or whatever. And I would just you don't have to enlighten the group. You don't have to say something profound, but you do just have to fucking show up. And I think that was like the first sign that I was starting to get better, was I was showing up, and I was showing up for myself. And it really healed me. It really healed me.
And so when you look in the mirror, what do you see now, brother?
I did a lot of work on that too.
Tell me, yeah.
My counselor, holy shit, I did not want to believe this would work, dude. And she would make me put Post-it notes up on my mirror, and they were like, I'm being the best dad I can be today. Or, my heart is full today. And they were just like little sayings that we would switch out every week, and I'd have 5 on my mirror. And it took me about 2 weeks to read them. And then it would take me maybe another 3. This is why for me long-term treatment worked, because it took then 3 weeks to maybe read them and then look in the mirror. And then the 4th week I'm looking in the mirror. And in the fifth week, I can actually stand back from the mirror and look in the mirror. Like I hadn't seen my reflection for fucking 10 years.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah, too scary.
I couldn't even look at myself and brushing my teeth. I was filled with so much shame. And so I would read these notes out loud, and fuck me, it worked. It worked. And it's so daft when you look at it on the mirror. You're like, how is this going to fix me? But it's a fucking simple program for complicated people. And it took a minute. But eventually I would read them, and then I'd like look at myself and be like, hey, you're not so bad. You know? And it healed me. It fucking healed me. And the other thing I did is I told them everything that was going on, the good, the bad, and the ugly, which I hadn't really done before. Every time I checked into a treatment or a sober living, it was all about the end date. When was I getting out? Well, because I didn't know when I was getting out, I could just focus on being in. And that was a big step for me.
I think too, buddy, we talk about this, you know, Shell is full of this. At some point, you have to realize there are no shortcuts. There's no fucking hustle. There's no grift. There's nobody to pay. There's no special privileges. It's just you got to be in all the day and shut the fuck up and do the work. That's the only move there is.
That's it.
That's it.
You've been telling me that for years.
I know.
For years.
Yeah, worker among workers. I wish there was something. There's just nothing.
There isn't anything. You're right. It's sit down and take everything a minute at a time if you have to, but there are no shortcuts.
Right.
No shortcuts.
And you learn the benefit of washing the toilets. You learn the benefit of making your bed. You learn the benefit of being on time for breakfast. The benefit of helping, all that shit. And it builds up and it builds up. Because you've been sober how long now?
Coming up on 13 months, which, you know, I've got a year sober. And I mean, I've been trying to do this for 13 years. 13 years, 99 sobriety dates, 11 sponsors, 3 rehab, 2 jails, and probably like $1 million.
Right. Yeah. And here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah. And a lot of the guys here that, you know, have a propensity gambling are betting that you're going to make it this time.
Just fucking crazy.
Yeah. 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 Why do you think they're doing that now, brother?
Because they see the change. I hope they see the change. You know what? Yeah, here are the other things I have changed. I have. I'm not the same person.
Yeah, claim that, brother. Yeah, claim that.
I'm not fixed. I'm not some spiritual guru.
Right.
But I am not the same motherfucker that walked up those 3 steps.
Yeah, right on.
Just not.
Straight, yeah, exactly.
You know, just not.
That's right. You know, like the guy that ran the Coldplay's manager, those different people. The one thing is, there's something about you made such impact on people. Really love you. Because no matter how fucked up you are, there's always a kindness to you. You know, and one of the things I've loved about you is, even in your worst fucking moments when you were fucking broke on a run, you and I both knew you fucking were gonna go meet some fucking tranny McDonald's. Yeah, because that's how we roll. I can't afford a hotel, but can you meet me?
Yeah, getting escorts on EBT.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Dude,
right.
Done it.
Yeah, no shit, right? You would say, "How's Dylan doing?"
Yeah.
Or like, I saw something you did, or like, fuck, dude, that's a cool, it's just, and I've always loved that about you. Tell the folks what you're doing now. You're doing a lot of cool shit.
Yeah,
EBT card.
Yeah. I've done it.
Yeah.
Just gotta find them.
We're only the guys who know how to fucking use a Groupon for a fucking prostitute, man.
I'm just getting back in feeling creative again. Took me a minute. Now I am, you know, I've come back to being a creative director by trade. And I work for a tech company and it's, you know, it's a job.
Yeah.
So what? You know, worker amongst work, a cog in the machine. And I love what these guys do. And I love the guys that set up the business. And we do big Times Square kind of campaigns to things in Coachella the next week to, you know, just we're working with artists and brands and household names and helping them translate their messaging on the street. And it's great. And I get to feel of use again. And at some point I'll go back to working in music.
Yeah,
or
when it's
helping
right.
in
They'll
music.
drop it when it's right.
When it's right. But right now, like, and also these guys know my story, which is great. So I don't have to hide anything from them. They know I'm newly sober.
Yeah, and the other thing too is what I love is you don't hide behind your resume. No one gives a fuck.
No one gives a fuck.
Because it doesn't give a fuck. Because here you are now.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to make the team and be a worker, right?
Yeah.
And that's a big deal.
And I want them to win.
That's right. Not about you anymore.
It's not about me.
Because you know if you keep doing this, something beyond your imagination is going to drop in.
Yeah.
True?
True.
And it's going to be amazing. And you know what else is great? You won't fuck it up this time because it'll mean something more to you.
Yeah.
And you'll do an even better job. It'll be more satisfactory to you.
Yeah.
And that's the get down, man.
That is the get down.
Well, you got your own fucking podcast.
I do.
Tell folks how to fucking, what's up with that?
So look, I had this idea when I was at Beit T'Shuvah. They have a studio that wasn't being used, and they, you know, for a rehab to say, hey, you can start a podcast was kind of fucking great.
Right.
And I tell you, man, that shit healed me. Obviously, I can't talk to clients, but I talk to staff and our brothers from the groups that we go to. And it was just a way of me talking to people. It's called Sicker Than Others. It's everywhere you get podcasts. And it was just a way of me talking to other people like me. And honestly, I do it because of what I get out of it.
Yeah, of course.
Like if people listen to it, great. Brilliant.
Right.
But
you're making art. You're helping people. And you're healing.
Yeah.
And you're doing your thing, man.
I don't need to do anything
It's fucking
else.
a great show.
And after this, I'm going to go pick up my daughter and go play golf with her, you know? Like, this is the best.
I know.
This is the best my life has ever been. Mm-hmm. And it might not have the glitz and the Grammys and that shit, but like, genuinely, this is the best I have ever been. Mm-hmm. You know? I'm not chasing someone to think I'm cool or hustling someone to get this thing or like caring about like if this thing I worked on made an impact and like what the industry thinks of me, and that shit would keep me awake for days.
And high.
And so high.
And fucking high, man.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. What has Shell meant to you?
Holy shit, dude. So I used to, Shell is like, it's kind of amazing it's called Shell, right? Because when I came here, for me, it wasn't about coming out of my shell. For me, it was like I needed a shell to protect me. You know, I needed a place to like be safe. And you know this, but when I would get high, I would get too high and I would come sit outside at 4 a.m. because I knew this place was safe. Like for real. And dude, like you've stuck with me. You said something to me once, which is, you told me that you'd never leave me. Right? And, yeah, you've never left me.
Never will happen, brother.
Yeah. And, it's so important, this place. Like if I could bottle this up, shell up and sell it. Like, fuck, if I could bottle it up and give it away.
Yeah.
Holy shit. But you gotta want to change.
Right. Right.
You gotta come in here and want something. And I didn't know what I wanted for so long. But I knew that I could just stop coming. And dude, I can tell you there is no worse feeling in the world than having to stand up in this room and tell people you've relapsed.
Right. Right. Yeah.
For real.
Right. What's the sign on the door say?
No shame allowed.
You made the sign.
I did.
That's right. You came up with that idea. What? Right.
Yeah.
And why is that so important?
Because when you've relapsed as so many times as I have, and you know, going to other meetings and other places and getting known as the relapser and whatever. If Shell didn't exist, I think I would have it would be over for me because there's no fucking way I'd set into those rooms. Like there's, you know, I always came here as much as I could, whether I was high or sober, right? And everyone knew it. You knew it.
Yeah.
But like that was the starting blocks of me getting better. And we here don't shoot are wounded. We hear that a lot, but the reality is it fucking happens. And just these guys here, it only works if you can come in and be fucking honest.
Right.
Right.
Right. Tell the truth. It's the easiest thing to remember.
Yeah.
Tell the truth. It's the easiest thing to remember.
It took me a long time to do that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Final thoughts to our brothers and sisters out there who are struggling, who are, What do you want to say to them, brother? What's your message?
Just give up.
Right.
You just got the bad news is you lost the fucking war. The good news is you lost the war.
Right.
Like, my ego kept me going for so long, dude. So long. That moment of clarity and that, my window of when I went to treatment this time, I knew that window was going to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Like, I hope you have that moment and you can get your ass somewhere, or you can just get to a meeting and you can just give up, dude. Just give it up. Just give it up. Yeah. It's like the hardest thing to do is to let go of everything you think you are. But it's the greatest thing you can ever do.
The best.
The best.
Enjoy your daughter today.
Thank you.
Enjoy your daughter. She's safe in the world today because of you, brother. Because that's what we do here. We make our children feel safe.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable for them not to feel safe in this world. Copy.
Copy.
I love you, man.
I love you too.
How fucking fun was this, huh?
Dude, this was the best.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. The Seano Show is a production of iHeart Podcasts, hosted by me, Seano McFarlane, produced by Pod People and 28th Ave. Our lead producer is Keith Karnalek. Our executive producer is Lindsay Hoffman. Marketing lead is Ashley Weaver. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week.